All right, we're gonna start our posture analysis. We have Rod Keister helping me out again. He's 27, very active, very mobile, but does sit a lot during the job. He's also had 5 injuries. 4 is on the right hand side and 1 is on the left hand side. So pretty excited to see how it looks. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna start at the top down, of course. So his Achilles on the posture side, on the left hand side, you can see a little bit it's coming in a little more than the right hand side. So you can see it's like leaning in just a bit on that. So that might just be because of the injury or him like overcompensating or something, but you can definitely see that left one is coming in a little bit. Moving up the knees. The knees look pretty vertical. I will say his left side as well looks like it's coming in a little bit, if you guys can see that, just a little bit coming in. Again, he does have, he did partially tore his left ACL, so that might be a trimming factor to that. So I would recommend probably spending a little more time stretching on that left-hand side. But the right one looks good. Doesn't look like he's slouching over at all on that one, so that looks pretty good. Rod, go ahead and put your hands on the top of your hips for me. So his hips are pretty low, about right here, but you can see the right one is just a bit higher than the left. So we'll make note that his left hip is coming up a little bit higher than the left-hand side, but other than that, they look pretty good to me. Moving up to his spine looks, to me, pretty straight. I know he's a little off on the string. Maybe go ahead and move just a quarter towards your left, just a little bit. Perfect, thank you. So back on the hips for me, hands on the hips, perfect. So yeah, his spine looks really straight to me. It doesn't look like it's curving at all. It doesn't look like he has any scoliosis or curvature to his spine. So he looks straight on that one. His scapula, you can see right here, this one is like dramatically lower than this one. This one's a lot higher. You're right hand dominant, right? Yeah. So it's odd because he's right hand dominant, but you can see his right scapula is a lot lower than his left. That probably just tells me something's tight, maybe a shoulder muscle, maybe he's really tight on the lats. So when he's working out or stretching, I would advise that he takes a little more time stretching out that right hand side, because you can even see this lat right here isn't as developed as his right lat. So I'm thinking that's the reason for that. So, but other than that, they look pretty, they don't look bad, just one is higher than the other. Moving up to his shoulder, so I'm gonna take a step back and looking at his shoulder. I'm gonna say the same thing with his shoulders. I'm seeing the left one, if you can see right here, is a little higher than his right shoulder. So they're not completely even. Again, that could just be multiple reasons, but you can see this one is coming up just a bit higher than that one. We're gonna go into his neck. From this angle, it doesn't look like he's tilting right or left on that neck. The neck looks like it's pretty straight up and down. Doesn't look like it's tilting at all, which is a good sign for me, but we can see what we're at. So from my general thoughts for this posterior view is Rod is for the most part even. I would say there's signs in his scapula where one is higher than the other, and then of course we have that left ankle issue. Other than that, I don't see anything super dramatic or that we can't fix or even that's congenital. So go ahead and turn to the left-hand side for me. We're gonna go to that lateral view. Perfect, come back just one step for me. Perfect, yeah, that's good. So again, we're gonna go to the bottom up. His knees, to me, look all right. Or we're gonna start with the ankles. My bad, I'm so sorry. So let's start with the stacking of the knees and the ankles. I don't see anything wrong from this view where his hips are. His hips look like they're right on top of his ankle, which looks pretty good to me. Shoulders look good. The ears look pretty much right on top. If you can see, they're a little hunched forward, which might mean that that neck is crouching forward, which would make sense because, like we said, Rod does a lot of driving and a lot of sitting. So his ear is just a little coming forward from that ankle, but other than that, that doesn't look too bad. Like I just said, I do think his head is a bit forward in that forward position. I said, like, he drives quite a bit. He sits quite a bit and looks down at a phone. So my suggestion for Rod would be to set an alarm on his phone or something just to remind himself to kind of bring that head back and make sure that it's stacked right on top. Going over that lumbar curvature. So for this one, I'm looking for to see if his hips are coming forward, if his lumbar is straight. I do have to say, I think his spine looks pretty good to me. I'm not seeing it like come in super deep, and I'm not seeing him come out super deep either. So I say pretty good on that one. I will say on his, go ahead and put your hands on your hips for me, please. I would say that I think that his hips are tilting a bit forward. You guys can see that. I don't think it's bad, but I do see a little bit of that hip, if you see that. You can go ahead and put your hands down for me. Thank you. Again, that thoracic curvature, which we kind of just went over, looks pretty good to me. I do think that his hips are coming up, if you see that right here, just a little bit, but nothing too bad. Back to his shoulders, I do see that his shoulders are coming forward a little more naturally. Again, that could be because of the sitting that he does or the phones or anything like that. So my suggestion for Rod would to do some shoulder rotations to make sure that he brings those shoulders back for the better posture. That might be the reason his head is coming forward as well. But I like the way that looks, and it's a pretty easy fix. Going on to the knees, I don't see any hyperextension in the knees. They look like they're stacking straight up on the ankles, so that doesn't look too bad to me. So from this, the left hand side, besides the fact that his shoulders are a bit forward and his head's a bit forward, everything else to me looks pretty straight and pretty easy fix. So I'm gonna have you turn side, so you're gonna face the right hand side. So moving on to that right hand side. Perfect, thank you. Ankle stacking, I do see a little bit on this one, if you guys can kind of see. He is putting this, this ankle does come in a little bit on this right hand side, which we noticed earlier, just slightly. So that just might be one ankle might be weaker than the other. And for that, I would recommend ankle stretching, ankle mobility, and ankle strengthening as well with toe taps and things like that. I do think that on this side, I am seeing his head lean back a little bit. I know that he took a big breath when I said that, but his head is coming forward just slightly on this side as well. Same as the left. Easy fix on that one, just reminding to set those shoulders back. Lumbar curvature on this side. So go ahead and put your hands on your hips for me, please. Go ahead and put them down. So I don't see any, like, same thing down the left-hand side. I don't see a huge tilt. I don't see that thoracic curvatures. I do, again, see with his hips, I would like them to be a little more even, but besides that, they look good. Going on, again, with those rounded shoulders, I'd like to see Rod's shoulders a little more back than they are right now. As you can see, they're stacking a little more forward, rounding forward a bit. So, again, I would just remind him, set an alarm every hour just to remind yourself to kind of do some shoulder movements and things like that. The right-hand side and the left-hand side look pretty even to me. We kind of thought that was going to happen, though. Again, I recommend ankle strengthening for Rod, and then really working on keeping those shoulders from rounding. So go ahead and face us now, Rod. So we're going to start with, again, top down. So we're going to start with his hand placements. To me, they look even, but let's go ahead and make sure that they are. So we're going to take this bad boy and go right here. So you can actually see right here that this side is higher than this side, just by enough where you can see it. He has had that injury in his collarbone before, so that might be attributing to why this side is hanging a bit lower, or that he's just tilting more towards this side. Not a big deal. I would recommend some stretches, maybe in that lat area as well. Going into his Achilles, so we're going to look at his feet. I can see on the right side it's coming in a bit. The right side, it is coming in. He's leaning a little more on this side. That goes back into ankle stretching. Rod did hurt the right side of his ankle, so it just could be some atrophy from that injury, and just strengthening and stretching would be the end goal. Going into the knees look pretty even to me. I do see, like I pointed out with the posterior view, that left knee is, if you guys can see that, it's coming in a little bit more. than the right. He partially tore that left one again, so that could be our cause for it. I would really recommend stretching for him. Some knees to chest would be great. Hamstring curls are great. Those would all really help with that back of the knee strength and stretching for that one. Going into the hips, so go ahead and put your hands on your hips for me. His hips look pretty straight. We talked about it. One is a little higher, as you can see on that side. It's a little higher on the right-hand side than the other one. Way to fix that is hip flexibility. Rod's pretty flexible, as we saw in the last video, but you can always get better. So I'd really recommend doing some deep stretching. Samson stretch is a great one for that one, or even getting a lacrosse ball and working on that higher hip flexor. Go ahead and put your arms down. And then we're looking at his shoulders. As you can see, we can see that collarbone is definitely higher than the other one. Again, that's because he really injured that right hand collarbone, but his shoulders don't look uneven for him having this collarbone injury. These are pretty even to me, and his traps are pretty even as well. So that looks pretty good in my books. Going into his head and his neck, again, I think Rod is leaning forward a little bit with the head. So just reminding himself to do some neck rolls and get the head back on that side. But it looks pretty stable to me. I don't think there's anything super wrong with it, personally. So I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much. If you need anything else from me, please let me know. And thanks for watching.